Howdy nerds! I thought I would do a different type of video rather than walking around the store here. I got yelled at for my mess that's back in the back because I have so much unorganized stuff. So I'm thinking we'd just go down kind of memory lane and show you some of the things that I've played here in the past at the store. And I don't know, I think it'll be a fun video just since I have to clean up my mess anyway, just to kind of hang out here and talk to everyone. Should have done this live probably, but yeah, just gonna kind of go with the flow here and see what I've been working on, what I've been playing with, and just, yeah, shoot the breeze until pre-release. So we have about an hour before, 2 hours before our next pre-release, and for Wildsville Drain, which is pretty fun. I had a pretty good time last night with the Wildsville Drain, keep calling it Thornville Drain, pre-release, went 3-1. So I guess I will just show you that before I get into other stuff. So I got all these boxes here I need to go through to see what they are, and then figure out what I want to do and get organized so that all of my crap isn't everywhere throughout the store. So had some fun with the pre-release last night with Wildsville Drain. Went 3-1 with this. I was kind of this pool that I opened kind of forced me to aggro. I don't like playing aggro in pre-releases. I think that aggro is quite boring, as I'm more of a mid-range or a control player when it comes to limited, because I think it gives me the most options to actually outplay my opponent. So of course limited is very rough to, like, a lot of your success is going to depend on what you actually opened in your pre-release packs, and sometimes you just get bad pools, comparatively speaking to other people with like big bombs. So I didn't get any bombs in this pool. Did open a doubling season, but nothing to really work with doubling season. My green was very, very shallow to begin with. So I ended up going Rakdos. Rakdos was quite fun. I think that Rakdos is super strong in this format. It's very aggressive. This card, like Hopeless Nightmare, was pretty cool just by doing 2 life and discarding a card. I think it's pretty powerful for a 1-drop, and then you can actually get a lot of synergy off of actually sacrificing this, because there's a lot of cards that end up doing even more damage when an enchantment goes to the graveyard or whatnot. So pretty cool stuff in here. You have a lot of removal in the Rakdos package. You have a lot of ways to kind of create tokens. And this card was actually super underrated with the Merry Bands or any of these other cards that put rolls on players or on creatures. They actually seem to be really, really strong. And this Twisted, I typically don't like grab cards in pre-releases or in limited. I like gain control stuff. It's more of like a sideboard. If you're going with like a big green deck, you take their big, their beater and hit them over the head with them. But this sucker was absolutely the MVP all night, because it just came on curve a lot of times on like turn 4, turn 5. Gave a hero a wicked roll as well, and so you'd gain control of one of your opponent's creatures, and then that just win at that point because it wouldn't have enough blockers. So anyway, it's kind of fun deck. That was my only bomb here, really, this Godric Cloaked Reveler, which is actually an insane bomb. It did a lot of work here because there's a lot of ways to actually get it activated by 2 things entering the battlefield on the same turn. But yeah, you're going to see it was kind of like an aggressive aggro deck here, and it was kind of fun. So our turnout was okay, not too shabby for our store. I think we had like 14 people, I think, is what showed up. So yeah, I know that would be like pretty abysmal for other bigger stores, but for our Friday release, that's pretty good. We can comfortably seat like 20 people. If we bring out other tables and stuff, we can easily get up to like 30. But I mean, here at Gonro Games, I think our biggest tournament's ever been like 30 people. So just to give you a scope of our operation here, we have pretty popular Commander nights. On Mondays, we're pretty packed. We used to have a good Thursday group. We're not going to talk much about the Thursday group, but we used to have a lot of people come in for that as well. And so we have a pretty good ecosystem here at the Gonro Games. So we want to know in the comment section how well your pre-release did, if you had fun with the pre-release. So what did I use for my sleeves? This is Valor. The Valor from the Dragon Shield. So these are called dual mats. They actually fit pretty well on the cards, like it's Dragon Shield. And so dual mats they've reprinted colors. So this one used to be like a bone color, or I'm not sure what they used to call this one, ivory or whatnot, until they made it into Valor. And so the problem with them, though, is they were see-through. So what they've done with these dual mats is they put this black backing on it, so there's no way that it's not translucent anymore. You can't see through the card. So therefore, you can play the double face cards, which are very, very popular now, or any damaged cards. You don't see any of the imperfections on the back of the cards if they have any sort of slight play or whatnot. So I don't know why I'm showing you this stuff. So these suckers are pretty good I do like Dragon Shields a lot. They're a little bit pricey, especially these dual mats. I think the going rate for them is like they want an MSRP for 14, I believe, but I sell them for 8. So it is available if you are a patron of ours. You can get the good old Dragon Shields, and I do highly, 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 highly recommend the dual mat ones. They shuffle well. You don't see through them. And all in all, they are a great sleeve. They are my favorite sleeves, being the Dragon Shields. So I guess this is kind of this video. I'm just gonna kind of talk about, showcase some of my favorite products here. The deck box I put it in was an Ultimate Guard Boulder. I like these ones. These are the ones that just hold 40. So they come in different sizes. You can get one. I think you can get 133s now. 133s, 100s. Then it's 80s, 60s, 40s is what they come in the Ultimate Guard boulders. There will be a competitor to these now. I know Ultra Pro makes some competitors to boulders, but I'm just not a fan of Ultra Pro products. I think they're more expensive for less quality. In like almost every Ultra Pro product I've ever bought, that seems to be the case. They really are just banking on their brand name. They have a lot of exclusive deals with Pokemon and Magic for creating kind of the more IP stuff. I think they even, did they pick up Lorcana as well? I'm not sure if they picked up Lorcana, but I think that's led to them not being as super high quality as other stuff. So their competitor products, these I don't really like. I should show one sometime here on the, I can't remember what they call them, Eclipse Hard, or I can't remember what the product line is for that. But GameGenic is actually coming up with these, and they should be about the exact same cost for the GameGenic versions of the, I mean, poor Ultimate Guard. GameGenic, the story of GameGenic is a company that was an ex-employee. I think the ex-founder of Ultimate Guard decided they're going to go do their own thing and create a GameGenic. And so I think they use a lot of the same connections and same manufacturers, and they're both based out of Germany, I think. So yeah, it's a kind of a mess there with the the Ultimate Guard being ripped off a few months later from GameGenic. But I actually do like the GameGenic line here. So I'm actually pretty excited playing the next pre-release here. Let's see what's under door number 2 to see what this is. So what is under here? Oh, this looks like an old Lord of the Rings. So this is my Lord of the Rings draft deck, it looks like. It feels like a little bit larger than a Lord of the Rings, but what I go here? Food. Lots of food. Kind of boring green Celestia. Yeah, seems pretty boring with that. And so I think these are snow dual mats. So this is from the Dragon Shield as well. We got the dual mats for snow, which are available as well to order. And Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings is still available for set boosters and draft boosters. I cannot get commander decks. I cannot get collector's editions anymore. We can just get the, I believe it's just draft and no bundles. Yeah, just draft and set are still available. I can't think of the pricing off the top of my head, but Lord of the Rings is still selling quite well. I do want to warn everybody about Lord of the Rings because there is going to be the holiday edition that is coming out in November. So that's going to saturate the market more with all of the, they're going to have different, I don't know if there's going to be different cards in there. I don't think there is. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It's just going to be something like double feature where it's just reskinned with a different, borders and stuff like that. But it's, I think it's too soon. I think the Wizard of the Coast needs to slow down on all of these product lines. I've talked about this, so I'm blue in the face about they're just putting out too many SKUs, too many products too quickly, and then people can't even seem to enjoy them, and then they are off to the next thing. And it almost feels like Wildsville Drain. We got Doctor Who coming out pretty soon, so they'll have collectors and commander decks. So if you haven't got your pre-orders in for Doctor Who, hurry and go and do that because I need to get my numbers solidified and out to the distributors. They are quite expensive, I believe, both of them, the collector's editions and the commander decks. So I'll have to figure out the pricing on that. I do have everything available on the Discord channel for those of you that are part of the Discord channel. So there we have it. Those are 2 recent things that I never de-sleeved. So again, like I said, I'm kind of getting yelled at for all my mess back here. So what's all this junk? Okay, so this is like the remnants of our Commander League. It looks like I started going to Modern Horizons there at the end. We got some scoops here. So just a lot of, get all the rares out of here. So this is the cards I wasn't using in Commander League. So something we do over at here at Gonero Games is we do a league. We alternate between doing 1 versus 1 leagues where you just keep your pre-release pack and then you build onto it. So we're going to be doing a Wildsville Drain league until the next standard set comes out, where it's just 1 versus 1 league. Every time you lose a match, you can add a pack, and every week you can also add a pack. We also give out promos from the promo packs that Wizards of the Coast gives out that can be added into your league. So typically it's a lot of just Wilds of Eldraine, but eventually you start to get a few other cards here and there. I don't know if we're going to just keep it Wilds of Eldraine or if we are going to let people diversify into other sets. But I really like leagues because it keeps the competition very even. So if you're a good player, you're going to win more, which means you're going to get less packs, which means you have worse cards, which can just give the edge to the people that aren't as good. And so it keeps everything very competitive. I also really like it too because draft, I feel, even in pre-releases, like if my previous pool I should have showed, that I ended up getting like some really cool build-around cards in white and blue, and there's also like a couple other multicolored cards and even single-color cards that were really fun to build around, but my pool just didn't support it. It kind of forced me to Rakdos because it really had the most 24 playables. And so what's cool about League, though, is you open up some fun cards. Eventually, you might be able to build a deck that you can play with those cards. And I like it, too, because you end up building multiple decks. Like, so, you know, you start getting enough cards, like, okay, I have a blue-white deck, I can have a red-black deck, I can have a, green-black deck, because these cards don't really, work together in my other black deck. And it makes it really interesting. You really get the whole feel of the mechanics from the set. And by the time League's over, it's like, wow, I have experienced enough of that set and got to play a lot of synergies and combos that would never see play in like Standard or Modern or Commander, and it's just a really good time. So I really promote leagues. If you don't have a league at your local game store, I highly encourage you to try to get them to start one. It's actually really profitable for stores too because it sells packs like crazy. So people, of course, when they lose a match, like, okay, now I can get another pack. That's what's cool too, is when people lose matches, it actually kind of feels good because then they're like, oh, I can actually add another pack. And so they get excited. So it gives me that whole feel of back in the day when you were like a young kid and your allowance money came in and you can go buy a Magic pack. It was so exhilarating because it's like, oh, maybe I'll get something and actually go in my deck. And so that's what's quite fun about the leagues, is you get to experience that all over again, that kind of feel, that kind of like, because now that we're adults, we can just afford to buy singles or buy packs or whatever, and just oh, I'm going to build a modern deck, I'm just going to go ahead and copy pasta and build it all because I can afford it. That's not the case with League. You're limited to stuff that you can actually play, and it makes it incredibly fun to find these synergies and combos and stuff. The Commander League I like even more for that reason, because you end up playing these bad cards. Well, I wouldn't say bad cards. They're just not as good as something like you would ever see in like a regular Commander match. In this day and age, Commander is so pushed, the power level is so high, that you'd never see these combos in action, ever. And then you'd find them in this league, and it'd be like, wow, this is pretty fun. And it's exhilarating, finding these synergies and combinations and things you wouldn't otherwise see. So that is, my 2 cents on. There's arena code for someone if they want to use an arena code. Go ahead and throw that sucker away since it's used. So that's kind of my 2 cents on leagues. Again, I think it's the best way to play Magic the Gathering. You can see I had some fun cards in this one. This is a Baldur's Gate League, if I remember correctly, but then I started branching off into like Modern Horizons and things like that. So pretty fun. Had some good times with this league. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play it as much as I wanted to because we moved board game night to the same night as league night, and I felt a little bit obligated to play with the board gamers rather than with the Magic players, as they tended to have enough people in that group. But alrighty, so that's under door number 2 of what we got, of what I needed to see what's under these suckers. So, speaking of another league, I think this one's over, so I can probably start breaking this apart too. Pokemon. So we do the same thing with Pokemon here, and Pokemon is kind of dead right now. Hopefully we can get it going again, as the summer just actually killed it. But what we do with Pokemon is you open up a build and battle box and then build a deck out of what you get out of the build and battle box, and eventually you'll start getting together a nice little deck as well. So this was for Paldea Evolved, I believe. We didn't do it for Obsidian Flames, as it was the height of summer and it was hard to get kids into play. And again, I got to sneeze here, but I really like leagues too because it's the same thing. If you ever played in a pre-release for Pokemon, it's pretty miserable. You're basically stuck to just the deck that you open out of your pre-release kit, and you have that 40 card deck that's basically good to go, and maybe one of your cards from one of your packs would work. But for League, you eventually start to get a bigger pool to work with, but it's also not the same power level as Standard. So Standard in Pokemon it's fun, but it's a different type of game. You're really just like churning through cards a lot quicker, and you're finding everything you need. Like it's very repetitive on the gameplay, how it works. And this version of playing Pokemon in a League is a lot slower, and you end up being able to play a lot of basics and stage 1s and things like that that you would never otherwise play in. Like again, you get the full feel of the mechanics, whereas if you're playing a pre-release, maybe you won't even play half your games because of how miserable this game is, due to like what we call mana screw in this one, where you don't get enough energy to put on stuff, or you don't find stage 1s to go on your basics, and it's just, yeah, this can be a very frustrating game to play limited. But yeah, this was kind of fun with the Paldea. You can see we didn't play a lot of it because it really died out here. We're thinking about doing a trade league next time with Pokemon, because, well, how that will work is you're not allowed to trade rares or anything above a rare, but you can trade commons and uncommons. That way, if you get like especially in this one where there is EXs that then evolve, like stage 2 or stage 1 EXs, and like one of them that I had like an EX, and I couldn't find the common to save my life. I couldn't actually pull the common, so I ended up having these EXs that would be really fun to play, but I couldn't get the common. So, and a lot of people had that exact same problem. They'd open up this card that or even a stage 2 rare that they really wanted to play, but they couldn't get the stage 1. So trade lead allows like people just to pass around commons and uncommons to each other, and that way I think it will be a better experience overall. So I actually need to rip this guy apart too. So these are Dragon Shields as well. You can see they are translucent, though. You can see through them, so I'm not sure if they've made... These are magenta. I think these are magenta Dragon Shield sleeves is what these suckers are. Yeah, that's what it is. But they are pretty good sleeve as well. They have a great shuffle feel, and Dragon Shields can be had for $7 a piece if you just want the regular matte ones. I don't carry classics here. I can order classics, but typically everyone likes the matte finish. They shuffle better. They don't get grease all, like my hands are particularly sweaty, and so if I have classics for Dragon Shields, they just get really start to get kind of mucked up. So I prefer the matte ones. I think they have the best shuffle feel, and they have the best durability for a sleeve. So those again are available. I was going to start pulling this apart, but maybe I'll save this when the camera is off and everyone doesn't have to watch me just de-sleeve cards here. What do you got under door number 4 here? What is this? Flesh and Blood? Okay, I need to figure out what to do with Flesh and Blood. This is like a pre-con deck here with, I think these are, nope, these are Dragon Shield sleeves as well on here. This is probably Ruby or whoa, these cards don't even look like they're, okay, these are actually different. These are not Dragon Shields. These are BCWs. Pretty good budget sleeve for BCW. And maybe these are, yeah, these look like Dragon Shields on the back of them. So can't remember what color this is, if it's crimson or red or what it is, but you need to figure out what to do with the Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is also something that's pretty popular and available to order. There's actually quite a good inventory that I can get right now, which is the first time I can say that for a long time, because that was another kind of card game that was really rough to get, except if you pre-ordered, and then it would be a while before they restock. So if they had a lot of like supply issues and things with Flesh and Blood, and then it got flooded, and it was just a bad taste in everyone's mouth. What is this? So this commander deck, this is my Asurek the Archlich. I don't play a bunch of commander. I think this is kind of a deck that's super unfun to play because it's just wombo combo. So the whole thing with Asurek is you just try to loop him. So a lot of mana ramp in this deck, and then eventually you get the cost of Asurek down to 0 is what you want to do. So every time you cast it, it just bounces back into your hand, and you can use the dungeons as the win conditions, and that's the base of the deck. It's like a very uninteractive deck. I think I went all in on really making the combo happen. It was just kind of a theory crafting deck that, again, is miserable to play. So if I have some toxic commander players that want to play miserable decks, I'll be like, hey, I'll join in if you want to be, if we all want to play solitaire. I got a solitaire deck too. This looks like it's my old school Tally deck. This sucker has not been updated in a long time. It's just one of these things, I haven't really played commander in a long time. So I think that the last time this sucker's been updated is what looks like we have a Reckless Stormseeker. So at least it's been since Midnight Hunt. But it doesn't look... Oh, there's a Baldur's Gate one. So maybe I have, like, toyed around with this sucker. But it's why I chose... There's a Crimson Val card. Why I chose Italy is people would complain about my decks a lot of times. And so like Kevin had, oh, your card combo or your cards are this blah blah blah. And so I made a tally that doesn't have any win conditions except a tally stealing other people's cards. And so some sort of wombo combo happened. It wasn't my fault. It was your fault for playing the cards. So that was kind of the theory behind a tally and this Asterisk is that these are kind of reactionary decks to our play groups rather than, you know, me trying to find a fun brew to build around. So this is kind of cool. I think that Zach has like a cry cut, and so you can actually print it on here or cricket. How do they say it? Cricket, cry cut. Anyway, the little things that you can make this stuff and put on there. So we have this Gone Rogue logo on here and the mana symbol, the red mana symbol from Magic the Gathering. So this is like a discontinued product. These are the nests. I don't think that Dragon Shield manufactures these anymore. They might, but this is I know that they got kind of some bad reviews for the magnets not being strong enough, but all in all, and they don't fit in deck box, like they don't fit in the bigger deck boxes. That's one of the cons to them too. But all in all, these are still some of my favorite deck boxes. They're just super snazzy looking. They hold your commander decks, and it was a good product by Dragon Shield for the time. And then they're, you know, pretty cool to brand. So something, I don't know if we can do it right now because I think we broke our but this is something we used to do for patrons too, is brand stuff. So if you had your own logos or if you wanted a specific something on your deck boxes, we could do that on, you know, various ones. I think that the boulders don't really work well for branding because the surface is something that is really rough to actually brand onto. But these ones worked out really great, and there's some other ones too, that the plastic ones that worked out really great as well. So let's go on to door number 15. I don't know where we're at right now. What's in this sucker? So these are called the Ultimate Guard Archives. Okay, I'm back. I actually hit my keyboard and stopped the recording, so hopefully it doesn't screw this video up too terribly. As I was saying, this is the Ultimate Guard Archive. Really like these suckers because it can hold the boulders in them, and you can see I've got a billion Flesh and Blood decks. It looks like these are going to be 60s then. And so this is where I've got my Flesh and Blood collection. That's what I don't like about some of these boulders. They have poor quality, and then they crack. So you get some lemons for boulders for sure. So I think these are mostly the pre-cons. I haven't played a lot of Flesh and Blood, so I don't know if many of these have been upgraded or not with the Flesh and Blood, but played a lot during Monarch. We had a pretty good group back then, but it just kind of died off here locally. It is something I would love to get back in the swing of things here locally and play some Flesh and Blood. I know that I've got some patrons actually super good at the game. I believe one of my patrons actually won a Pro Tour. Shout out to Cards with Michael. You can go check out his YouTube channel. Opens up a lot of product, and I know he's done very successful in the Flesh and Blood tournament scene. So yeah, it looks like these were just a lot of pre-cons, and I put it together to really try to get Flesh and Blood going here and have them available for people to play. Unfortunately, it was just a game that in a small area like ours, it's a lot of times you don't want to like stretch the play groups thin, so you want to pick and choose a few games to really promote and not, again, spread everyone into so many different stuff. And unfortunately, Flesh and Blood just couldn't take off here. We're just too small. Hoping we can actually develop our college here and turn more into a college town. That way, I think that we can, support a lot more games. But we have a pretty robust commander scene here. And again, pre-releases do well. But other than that, it's pretty rough to, get people into other stuff. So it looks like these were the Monarch decks from Flesh and Blood, and I guess that other Flesh and Blood deck I showed earlier was just one that didn't fit in here. And yeah, it is what it is. So we have more Flesh and Blood in here. So this was from, what was this, from Dynasty? No, this was from, can't remember what this set was, but this is another game that's available to order. It's pretty easy to get at this point. I think the Flesh and Blood's done a good job actually figuring out its supply and demand, and they've been printing accordingly pretty good here. So this is my, wow, this is my go-to one here. This is my Bolton deck. I don't think I use hatchets. What do I use here? So this was kind of like the deck that Braden Dustblade. So I have actually updated this one. So this is I know that Bolton is a lot more powerful. They've added some cards, I think even recently in one of the last sets they've added some cards here. Well, this is my go-to deck that I used to play. I remember this card, the Via the Vanguard, super powerful card in Bolton. But yeah, it is a, what are you doing, Ling? I'm getting watched at back here by one of our old, come say hi, Ling, to the YouTube. Used to play a league here for or not league. He used to play. They can't see. You have to be like in the camera, So see, this is how people do. They just come back here and interrupt me. And you played Flesh and Blood at one point, right?
Yeah.
You played some Flesh and Blood, and then he moved away like all of our children. Yep. They grow up and move away, and now what are you doing with your life?
Working.
Working.
Yep.
Working is what you're doing with your life. But you don't play Magic anymore? You're trying to sell all your cards?
Yeah, pretty
I see. They grow up, they forget about us, they sell all their cards, and then we don't hear from them, and then they turn like 25 and realize that there's more to life than chasing girls, and actually they get sick of it. That's what ends up happening. They get sick and frustrated about it, and then they come back to the game store, like all good nerds do. But it is what it is. All right, I'm back again. Don't know how much I'm going to edit this video down. As you could, now you really get to see behind the scenes at the store. As you know, people just come back, and that was a good friend of ours. One of the perks of owning a game store, and one of the most fulfilling things, at least for me, is watching these kids kind of grow up. So that guy, he came in here when he was a lot younger, kind of hung out at the store. We like to call him our dependents because we'll go pick him up Little Caesars and stuff and feed them here while they're always hanging at our store. So he was one of our favorites. So his name is Zach, and we already have a Zach, of course, the store owner. So they call him Little Zach, that somehow turned into Zach Ling, that then got shorted to Ling. So really fun times watching these kids grow up. It's very fulfilling. Huge perk to the game store is that aspect of it. I think that's super important with having a game store. Is I see all these other ones that are like really into the grind and really into the profit and really into the, man, there are just better ways to do it. Like, go get a job in finance or go get a job in, like, I've never understood that with those type of, I guess, you get in the swing of things and like, okay, well, I need to really just focus on the business aspect of it. But to me, the only point to being a store is the interaction with the community and kind of developing a kind of robust and making relationships with people. That's at least for me, that's like the whole point to owning a local game store. And so, yeah, it always puzzles me with some of these stores that are just so impersonal. Is that a word? Unpersonal? But for me, that's the big perk, is just to get to know these people. And I've never needed a social life. I mean, I still do. I still have friends, still go, that aren't into gaming, that go still do stuff with them. But I mean, the store just gives you a constant, like, sometimes too much. Like, I've joked about how I sometimes have to be everyone's +1. So it's like, oh, I need someone to play this board game. I'm like, all right, I'll go be your +1. And it can get old. It can get stressful too when you just want to, be in an introvert mode and, go and hide in the back. You still need to interact with people and put on a smile and stuff like that. But if you're not like creating a community, if you're not interacting with people, then at that point you're just like a soulless TCG or eBay store, and it just seems so pointless. There just seems to be better things to do, so then do that. So anyway, there was my little tangent that we went on. So what is this? So this looks like a Pioneer deck. I've done a deck tech for this sucker before on the Rogue Deck Builder. Yep, it's just an Eldritch Evolution combo deck that tries to get out a Asterisk as well. Man, I must be obsessed with this card. So it tries to go infinite with Asterisk, looping again, but this time in Pioneer. So, man, maybe I need a hobby if I am just... And I don't think his name is even Asterisk. I think I should actually Acererac, the Archlich. So I need to actually pronounce his name correctly if I'm actually going to be such a fanboy. Not a clue what he is or have anything to do in the D&D lore. I have never... Well, I have played D&D when I was young, but I have not touched D&D for decades because it's just not my forte. What else do we got down here? Oh, this is a goodie here. This one I'll showcase. This is the Lorcana. So I opened up some Lorcana. I shouldn't have. I should have sold it online because boxes are going for like 400 now. And I actually need to, my buddy actually brought me some Simbas because apparently this card is impossible to pull for me. So this is a common Simba that I have not been able to pull more than 2 of with all the product we've opened for the Lorcana. So I need to actually get this sucker in here to see how it's going to work. So anyway, this is my idea since I opened up 2 of these Tamatoas and trade for another one, that I wanted to make this card work. So it was like a ramp style deck. I know there's other ways that people are doing ramp with this color combination, but Tamatoa just seemed pretty fun. And Lorcana, I'm pretty okay with Lorcana, but it is redundant. The deck building's fun. It's fun to find combos. It is very limited at this point of what you can come up with, but it does get the brewer gears going. And again, I'm going at this game like I've gone about any other game, and basically finding like a pet card and trying to actually make it work. So Tamatoa is what this deck is based around, and so it just wants to get some items in the bin, and so Simba's one of the best ways to do that. It just draws a card and discards a card, and then later down the road, Tamatoa will get you back your card advantage, because you're going to go through a lot of card disadvantage to ramp with things like one jump ahead, and a few other cards in this. There's like a fishbone quill that does that. That ends up being card disadvantage to kind of ramp you up. But then Tamatoa is going to give you a lot of card advantage by being able to bring items back from your bin into your hand. So that is what I've been working on right now. There's not a lot of, I guess, not a really fleshed out deck at the moment. It's just kind of a casual deck, and it's been fun to play around the store. So we do have a few people that are playing the Flesh and Blood, are playing Arcana, and are enjoying it. So that's another thing that we're going to try to get going. If not, we gave it a shot. So what is under these suckers? So we have more Pioneer decks that I play. So this one is this is another combo deck that tries to get out Colossification and Burning Anger. So these are the type of decks that I like to play. They're not very successful, but there's a combo for you right there. Storm Herald, Burning Anger, and Classification. You get them in the graveyard to cast Storm Herald, you just win, because then you can do 23 damage to the face, because the Classification goes on the stack, tries to tap it, but you tap it in response with Burning Anger to just shoot your opponent down from 23 should be enough damage for the majority, unless they've gained some life. So I've done deck techs on these if you are interested in those. Rogue Deck Builder. Kind of a dead channel. I do want to revive it. I do want to get back into showcasing stuff, because I do still enjoy this. I was actually going down memory lane today and looking back at some old Rogue Deck Builder videos, and it got me extremely nostalgic for some of the stuff that I used to create. Kind of kicking myself that I never stuck with any of my project. I think I could have had like a successful channel, and could have gone further than I did if I wouldn't have just got so bored with content creation, or frustrated, or whatever it was, that I kind of took a backseat and didn't actually do a lot of content creation. But this looks like a budget Pioneer deck here. Kind of fun. In the Boulder 100s here. So you can actually order these now. You don't even have to find two colors. Like Ultimate Guard came out with the 2-color combos, which I think is just so stupid, because you could mix and match them before this, and now you can just buy them directly from them. So yeah, is this a Gamegenic binder? Just a Gamegenic binder. That's it. There's nothing in it. I don't know why I'm showcasing this. It's yellow, so this is kind of their cheapo ones. Not sure what the cost is on these suckers, but they're quite, still my favorite. Gamegenic is my favorite low-end product for sure, for like sleeves, binders, like the flimsy deck boxes. I think they do the best job for the low-end stuff, and their high-end stuff's good too. So it's that's what I like to use Gamegenic for. All right, so what is under this door? This is going to be an Ultimate Guard something. It is oh wow, it's Pokemon. So it's just a lot of random Pokemon in here from various leagues, and yep, I think this is like the card pool that you end up with leagues. There seems to be a lot of energy and junk in here too. I think it's like the last league. Yeah, I think this is the previous league with Scarlet and Violet is still in here, and you end up with a lot of cards and stuff. So yeah, not too interesting. Oh, there's all my Pokemon dice that I put in here in my little... So you have everything you need to play. You got your little flip your coin and your Pokemon damage counters, and it just goes right in there. This is called a Smart Hive from Ultimate Guard. This sucker is quite expensive, but the magnets are good on it. It holds everything you need for like a small collection or a couple decks and stuff like that. So anyway, speaking of branding stuff, I think this used to hold my Clank. It's a board game, but Clank got too big that I had to upgrade to a bigger box. And what do we have in here? This looks like it is... Okay, here's my Commander decks. All right, so this is the league that we just finished with... So I used Lightning Greaves and Swift Boots in multiple decks, so I just proxied them for decks that I wasn't playing at the time period. But this looks like this is like a green-white tokens-based deck. Yep, it ran around the Kadira color of the small. So that's what's kind of cool about leagues. You end up, by the end of it, you end up with like decent commander decks. So, of course, if I were to like sit down on a commander table, this would just get absolutely crushed. But again, there's some fun stuff like Phyrexian Processor, creating tokens, and this way of like doubling tokens and stuff. It just makes like a bunch of these cards you'd never use in Commander, like creating 2/1/1/1 mouse tokens. So it's like I just tried to find every card possible that could actually work with the generation of tokens. It was quite fun. When the power level is dumbed down in Magic, it can be super fun to play. And I'm going to sound like the biggest broken record. I highly encourage you to try to pick up these leagues and play them. This is the most beautiful way to play Magic. It hits that perfect sweet spot of having enough cards in a pool to actually have some interesting combos and interactions and whatnot, and not being the trashy, like overpowered crap that Wizards has pushed Commander at this point, where everything is like at the power level of a legacy deck. So even precons are so powerful. So this sucker was a Raphael Fiendish Savior, and it tried to just, yeah, a lot of ways to give my little stuffed Death Touch in here. There's some fun stuff I ended up getting out of here, like I remember finding some wombo combos, like giving your stuff Death Touch until turn, or there's a card out of Lord of the Rings that gave all your tokens Death Touch, and then you can sacrifice your little devils that do 1 damage to anything. With Raphael, and I started pinging down, controlling the board that way. So super fun. This would end up being a way fun deck to play. The board states get messy. I mean, it's a fun experience. It's a really fun experience for these leagues. So again, I've talked about these, I think, in the past and other ones, how to do that. But the short story is you just start with a set booster box is what we started with. We allowed people to like split set booster boxes too. I'm like, okay, I'll take all the white, blue, you take all the red, black. And that gets more just people able to afford it and get into the league. And we do it at cost too, because if you're a store, this is how we make the profit margin after it. Is you just can rely on people actually buying packs at regular price. Afterwards, to actually, when they lose matches, to actually upgrade their deck. And so there's your profit mark. You're going to start getting people going pack crazy. So you just sell the set boosters at cost, let people split them, let people do whatever they want to get it going in the league, and then the profit margin comes just by people buying packs. And again, at the end of leagues too, we get a lot of trade-ins a lot of times too, because people are like, well, a lot of people do like, okay, I'll just upgrade this into a regular commander deck, but a lot of them are like, well, I'm done, it was fun, and then they trade in their cards. So yeah, this is my third deck. So Shelob I was able to pull in a Lord of the Rings pack, and then I think I just like found every fight card possible. Yep, there's like Band Together and Epic Confrontation, and it was a pretty fun one too. Man, this is some good times playing this league. So that was under this deck box with these are, again, the boulders. That's what I like about the boulders, is you can see I'm Golgari colors, so I found a black and a green boulder, and it shows you exactly what I'm, the other ones too. It was a Rakdos color and a Celestia color here with the boulder. So again, those are some of my favorite products with the boulder. And where else are we going with this? And again, they fit really well in these Ultimate Guards. Ka-chow. Boom. And last but not least, and we'll close this video up, what do I got here? We have as I make everyone dizzy, this looks like it's all my Pokemon decks. Okay, so I got into Pokemon. I'm not so much into Pokemon now. I haven't actually played since Scarlet and Violet. What is this? This is an old league deck. This one's boring. One of the things that was my goal is, like, after the league ended, I was gonna try to make a tier deck as possible with some of the cards that I open up with league. So this one was a Dodonzo. So I was gonna slowly upgrade this into like an actual standard deck, but I think I gave up on it halfway through. I think these are the lime green colors from Dragon Shield, or what do they call it? Apple? Is that one apple? I'm not sure if that's apple green or what color this is from Dragon Shield, but you can kind of see I really like Dragon Shields, really like boulders. Man, I think I spend too much on Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. And what's under this one? Just sleeves? I guess we just have a deck box with sleeves in it. That's kind of boring there. Probably a deck that I broke apart. And again, I got into Pokemon to try to get it going. I think this was like the tier 1 Gardevoir deck. Missing a few pieces here, but using Mimikyu instead of, I think they used a different card in that one. But yeah, it was just the Gardevoir tier deck for Pokemon. I've always flirted with starting a Pokemon channel because it's another one that is kind of fun to build decks, but in my opinion, Pokemon is still pretty miserable to play, especially at a highly competitive level. It's insanely repetitive. But it was fun. It was fun to kind of try it out. This looks like a Lost Box, which was a tier deck at that point. Yep, some tier deck Lost Box, which was fun to play. Really grindy deck. And I think I got my favorite deck in here. I think this one's Mew. This is a super tier deck at the moment. Nope, this is my baby. So how this one, speaking of which, with like when leagues ended, so one of the leagues that I had, or whatever Darkrai, whatever set this was from, when we did Pokemon leagues, is I had a Darkrai V-Star by the end of the league. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try to build a tier deck out of Darkrai, and then so it really got the gears going again, and I tried to find the best kind of way to build this Darkrai. And I know it's probably better now, but they had some fun little ways to get Darkness Energy into the graveyard, then move it all to a certain Pokemon, and then you can start one-shotting things with a Darkrai. So there's some fun stuff in here. I know this isn't making sense to anyone that doesn't play Pokemon, but yeah, this was kind of fun to do it. So, yep. So again, I am pretty spread out in the involvement here in the communities. I try to, again, we have different roles here at the store. I probably shouldn't be as involved as I am now because it is such a time suck to being kind of the promoter, kind of the player, and run all the online stuff and stuff. But typically that's if you are a store owner, that sometimes that's what is involved, is you really have to cultivate these little communities and stuff. And so I try to get into most of the games that we play around here, and at least have decks to play people when there is time to do so. But it is quite the time investment to do so, and like I said, it also can be quite frustrating. Feel obligated to be everyone's +1. So anyway, long video. Typically I don't do this long of videos on this channel, but I thought, again, I kind of show you what goes on here, what I kind of play, what I kind of still enjoy. And yeah, if you have any questions about anything you saw in this video, yeah, we can definitely steer you towards those purchases, and I can recommend other stuff too. These are kind of my, you've seen my preferences, boulders and dragon shields. They're kind of my bread and butter, my go-to stuff. So hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment sections how you thought about that, and be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that wonderful stuff so we can get this community growing. As always, this has been Kevin with Gunner Games. Thanks for watching.